Welcome, everyone, to Friday Night Young at Heart, featuring nursery rhymes, stories, songs, poems, Mother Goose, Aesop fables, Lewis Carroll, limericks, larks, stories of the great operas, epics, and such to keep us all young at heart. I'm Father James DeLuzio, and tonight, at last, after a bit of a hiatus, the conclusion of Sir Gwain and the Green Knight, that great medieval tale, contemporaneous with the Canterbury Tales, no less, about one of King Arthur's Knights of the Round Table by the name of Sir Gwain. So you know, or if you've been following, he has taken a challenge during a Christmas season that he would be bold to cut off the head of this mysterious, magical, magnificent Green Knight who challenged the knights during Twelfth Night in King Arthur's court. But in order to be so brave and bold to take this Green Knight's head off, which he does, and the Green Knight, of course, holds his head, and the head continues to speak and offer a challenge, he has to come back a year later on New Year's Day to a green chapel, accost the Green Knight once again, and this time to allow his own head to be severed with this magnificent, large, sharp axe. So that's this setup. You should have remembered the setup. We left off, it's a year later. He has left King Arthur's castle on All Souls' Day. For 2 months he travels, wearied by the weather, harsh nature as it can be when you're out exposed to the elements, as he was, even though he was warmly clad and dressed in the finest armor. He's hungry. He's been able to do some hunting, but he's often accosted by wicked people and folk, so he's weary and weak. He arrives at a magnificent castle, more grand than Arthur's, on Christmas Eve, no less. And you remember, he is welcomed warmly by the lord of the castle, his beautiful lady, the other knights, and they've heard of Gwain's great reputation and his valor, and they welcome him. He wants news right away of where he can find the Green Chapel and the Green Knight, and they assure him that it's not very far at all, and they beg him to stay this Christmas tide with them, for he does have almost 2 weeks before New Year's Day will arrive, and so he does willingly, and they take care of him with his woundedness. They feed him. He begins to gain nourishment. They give him a splendid room and fire and warmth and magnificent clothes, and he's loved and adored by everyone. And then we know, as the time is getting closer to New Year's Day, the lord of the manor, says these 3 days up to New Year's, he's going on these big hunting expeditions with all his knights, but he wants Sir Gwain to stay and rest and get up his strength for the encounter with the Green Knight. So the first night, they send Gwain off to bed, and in very early morning, before sunrise, the manor lord and all his men go off first to hunt a deer. And it's early in the morning, as the sun is rising, that who creeps into his boudoir but the lady of the manor? And she speaks with such sweetness and such ardor and such fondness for him. But he knows who he is, and he knows what is expected of him, so he will not give in to caresses and much tenderness, although he's extremely respectful, and he will accept a kiss as a knight would accept a kiss from the lady of the manor. When then, all during the day, he goes to mass and socializes with everyone. When the lord of the manor comes back after his hunting, first with the deer, and then the second time for the boar. Remember the boar's head carol? So he does, and there was the little agreement they made that the Lord of the Manor would bestow upon Sir Gawain the gifts of the hunt if Sir Gawain would, in return, give the gift to the Lord of the Manor. And all that turns out to be, since Gwain only had his armor, and he was really indebted to the people of the manor, is 3 kisses. You know, those great medieval kisses, one cheek, another cheek, another cheek, to show his virtue and his respect for the Lord of the Manor. For although it was not stated, it was not explicit, it was inferred that he would keep his virtue and not stain the reputation of the Lord of the Manor or his lady. So we left off twice. He was quite successful. So now this is New Year's Eve, and it's the night before Sir Gawain must go out to find the Green Knight. And as usual, but not as usual, the first 2 nights he slept soundly, with many dreams about the beautiful lady of the manor. And yet, as we know, he remained steadfast and strong, virtuous and ethical, following that great commandment, 6th, for us Catholic and Orthodox Christians, thou shalt not commit adultery. But now this night, before he is to encounter the Green Knight, he has a very restless night and can hardly sleep at all. And he's, of course, reeked with visions of phantoms. Nevertheless, early on New Year's morning, the king gathers all the knights, and they're going off this time to hunt a fox. And I must say, as it's described in detail, I really felt compassion for the fox, even more than the deer or the hog. I cannot explain it. All the same, they do catch the fox by the end of the day of hunting. But before we got into all of that, the narrator tells us who has crept into the boudoir but the lady of the manor. Now this time, she is passionate. This time, she is just giving forth such vibrations of estrogen, and yet, with great fervor, Sir Gawain does not succumb. However, the lady wants to offer him a gift. She keeps asking, "Are you going to give me a gift? Are you going to give me a gift?" Which, of course, implied but not stated, was the gift of himself, his very body, soul. But in any rate, she offers him this red gold. Have you ever heard of red gold? I had not. Ruby gold. She offers him this exquisite ruby gold ring, but he cannot take it because such a ring implies a little more than just respect. So he's, no, I cannot accept it. And she says, "Well, aren't you going to give me something?" And he says, "No, I cannot, and I can't accept this." So then she said, "Take this girdle." Now, girdle, it's not what you think. In medieval times, the girdle was simply a belt that was worn out, an outward belt on women's clothing, and usually decorated finely. Well, of course, this one is. It's a green belt. Green, notice, green. And there's the Green Knight awaiting him that very day. Of course, this is very early in the morning, where she has entered into his bedchamber. And it's laced with gold and jewels and gems. Again, no, he's not going to be impressed by the wealth, and he does not want to take what the lady offers him because he will not give anything in return. But she tells him with great ardor and love that this girdle, this beautiful belt, will protect its wearer from all harm. My question to you is this: what would you do? And what are the implications of accepting such a gift at such an hour, in such a place, from a most magnificent person? This way you can apply it whether you're male or female. Well, you might make some concessions. Will he take it? And if I were going to save the ending of the story till next week, I'd end right there. But, like Sir Gwain, I shall be true to my word, and I shall tell you the end of this tale. Why not? Well, when Gwain hears this about the magical properties, I mean, who could blame him? But the lady so secretively, and so Lord knows what her wiles may be, said there was only one thing about accepting this girdle, this belt. He was not to tell the lord of the manor that it was given to him. So, the day comes on, the lady leaves the room, disgruntled for his lack of true love. Or would it have been true love at all, I ask you? And so, we hear about the fox hunt. The lord of the manor returns with all the knights with great fanfare. I'm thinking this is New Year's Eve. That's right. This was the night before New Year's Eve, because he's got to be at the Green Knight on New Year's Day. So now this is New Year's Eve, all day. Fox hunt, comes back. Once again, he bestows the fox fur upon Sir Gwain, and Sir Gwain offers the 3 kisses, and it seems that all is well. So next morning is New Year's morning, now that I've got the date straight, the calendar right, and off he goes with the Lord of the Manor's guide to show him exactly where the Green Chapel is and where he will encounter the Green Knight. But before the guide leaves him, not bringing him directly to the place, he warns him that there is a monstrous ogre who has killed anyone and everyone, actually, with no exceptions, not even the priests. Killed them all for even going into the arena anywhere close to where this Green Chapel is. But Sir Gwain is adamant. He says, I will not give in to fear. And so when the guide leaves, he prays over Sir Gwain and wishes him a miracle, because no one, absolutely no one, has been able to defeat this monster of an ogre. When Gwain finally does reach the place, he's a bit taken back, for rather than a true chapel, there's just a huge mound of dirt. However, it is like a cave, and one could enter in. But there's no sign of anybody, and this ogre, nowhere to be seen. He climbs to the top of this mound, calling out for the Green Knight, as he has pledged to do. And the Green Knight, coming down from the cliffs, looking just as he had the year before, with his head on his neck and shoulders. Go figure. And so they go into the chapel, and Sir Gwain removes his helmet and his scarf, and he lowers his neck, ready to take what was promised, to give his life in the challenge of the Green Knight. The Green Knight raises this huge axe, you recall from the event the year before, and raises it so high that even if he dropped it, it's going to sever anybody's head, even the great Sir Gwain's. But he's going to use the full force, and as he comes to bring it down on our hero, or, well, we'll see if he's a hero, as brave as he is, for all his intent, Sir Gwain flinches. The Green Knight is furious. He reprimands him. He calls him names. He demeans Sir Gwain's manhood. Gwain, with a firm upper lip, prepares himself and says, "Go ahead, I'm ready now." And so, the second time, up comes the axe, down goes the axe, and just as it's about to sever the head of Sir Gwain, the Green Knight stops. Sir Gwain has not flinched this time, and the Green Knight makes some excuse to make sure that Gwain was truly heroic and not the coward that he seemed to be by this very natural body response, almost a, what are those things, those natural responses when you hit your knee and it bounces back? A reflex that goes beyond our intent, beyond our will. So now the Green Knight is satisfied. This Gwain is brave, and he is going to fulfill. And he raises the axe, and he brings it down just to the point where he scratches and scrapes Sir Gwain's neck, and blood begins to pour on the ground. Gwain gets up immediately, ready to fight, because this was a strike that touched him, which was to be one, and only one strike was to touch him. And so he heaves a great sigh, and he's ready now for battle. But the Green Knight is not interested in a battle, but reveals this. Oh, because he has to. Because if he survived, he had to tell who he was. Remember that from a year ago? Not our year ago, from the year ago in the story. Weeks. He is the Lord of the Manor. And the whole courtesy towards Gwain and the Lady of the Manor's temptations were all a test. And twice he succeeded fully in not soiling the reputation or virtue of the lady or the king of the manor. But the third time, not because he gave in to lust, but because he gave in to a bit of fear, that he wanted some extra protection, because he wasn't truly willing to be vulnerable, as one is meant to be truly vulnerable before God. There's a lot of spirituality in this epic poem, don't you think? He had to have a sign, a scar. We would call it a sacred wound. Now, there's much has been written about sacred wounds, but I'll leave you to look that up and how important they are. And so Sir Gwain is totally ashamed. He admits his guilt. He apologizes to the Green Knight / Lord of the Manor for keeping the secret of the belt, the green luxurious girdle. And the Green Knight says to him, "Well, I want you to keep this." And at first Gwain says no, and then he says, "No, yes, I will keep it because it's a sign of my shame." And when the knight wears the girdle, he doesn't wear it as the women, like a thick belt around his waist. He puts it over his shoulder, sort of like a banner. And when he returns to Camelot, as he does, even though he's been forgiven, obviously, by the Green Knight, because he was given his life, he says he will always wear it to make him humble whenever he's feeling particularly proud or arrogant. He will not give in, and in this humility. And so Arthur and the knights decree that they too, in honor of Sir Gwain's bravery and in honor of his humanity and fallibility, his honesty in admitting his fallibility, all the knights from that point on wear a green girdle banner around their shoulders and around their waist. Well, what do you think of that? Now, there's more that's spoken of that we don't have time for. A lot about the nature of women as temptress, and there are echoes of King David and Bathsheba and King Solomon and his harem and Samson and Delilah. But nevertheless, we find that Sir Gwain has outshone them all. And now my Echo is talking, and I need her to stop. Echo, stop! Something I must have said must have started that little... Well, some of you may have an Alexa. I call mine Echo. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this prepares you for Thanksgiving. For we have been through Sir Gwain and the Green Knight, and we have survived. And our necks are unscathed, although I feel a little kink from time to time. I don't know yet what I'm going to read for us next week. If you like, you can make some suggestions. We could go back to Over the River and Through the Woods to prepare us for Thanksgiving. It's okay to have a repeat or a reprise, I should think. But you put down in the comment, thank you for staying with me. It was a longer session, but we had to finish this, didn't we? God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week on Friday night. Young at heart. Keep smiling.